It is one of the most elite women's schools in the world, but its educational philosophy is not to shape young minds. It is to train perfect wives. The core course at this school is how to become a good homemaker.
A few years from now, your sole responsibility will be taking care of your husband and children.
Even the main event at the sports day is pushing baby strollers.
Since the late 80s, whoever wins is first to marry.
The students here are clearly some of the smartest women in the country, yet the greatest honor of their lives is somehow to find a good man and marry him. After receiving the job offer, Katherine is determined to change everything here. But on her very first day of class, the students end up teaching her a lesson instead. The moment she shows the first slide, a student below answers instantly.
Wounded bison, Altamira, Spain, about 15,000 BC. Joan Brandwin.
The students seem to know this slide inside out, so Katherine can only quickly switch to another one. But this time, before she can even speak, someone below answers ahead of her again.
Just in 1879, Lascaux, France, dates back to 10,000 BC, singled out because of the flowing lines depicting the movement of the animal.
After that, a wave of quiet laughter rises from the class, as if they are mocking the teacher for being old-fashioned and clueless. Katherine stays calm and continues showing the remaining slides. But no matter which slide appears, the students can confidently explain the background of the artwork.
Fresco, Minoan, 1600 BC. Snake goddess, Minoan, 1600. Peasant couple plowing, 16th century.
The slides she prepared in advance are soon completely used up. Facing those pairs of dismissive eyes below, Katherine feels as if she is being put on the spot. She steadies herself and asks whether everyone has already finished reading the entire textbook. The next second, every single student raises her hand at the same time. One bold student even challenges her openly in front of the whole class, without waiting for Katherine to answer.
If you've nothing else for us, we could go to independent study.
Everyone gets up and leaves the classroom. Through their actions, they give this new teacher a brutal warning on her first day. But Katherine does not lose heart because of this. And that night, she carefully studies the students' records. Their achievements are impressive, yet strangely identical, like AI programs designed by someone else. Perfect but completely soulless. This makes Katherine immediately realize that their excellent grades come only from a textbook-driven teaching method. So the next day, her lesson material moves beyond the knowledge inside the book. This time, sure enough, no one below dares to answer first. And once they lose the support of the textbook, all of them fall into blank confusion. But Katherine's intention is not to make things difficult for the students, so she simply asks a question that could not be more basic.
Is it any good?
Yet even with such a simple question, not a single person in the room dares to answer. Katherine walks into the crowd and encourages the students to speak their minds. Under her guidance, different voices appear in the classroom for the first time.
In fact, I wouldn't even call it art. It's grotesque.
I think there's something aggressive about it.
The students begin talking among themselves, and some even question whether Katherine's lesson material is wrong, but she simply smiles it off, because this is exactly what she wants. What is art? What makes something good or bad? And who gets to decide? Just as all the students fall into thought, Katherine makes another unexpected move.
25 years ago, someone thought this was brilliant.
I can see that. Who?
My mother. I painted it for her birthday.
She wants to use this method to tell the students that there is no so-called standard answer in art, and everyone can interpret it through their own ideas. In this class, Katherine is not teaching the students how to deal with exam papers. She is guiding them to start thinking for themselves. At this school, there are far too many rules that lead to standard answers. The duty of most teachers is not to teach and guide, but to shape the students into identical homemakers. For this reason, the school has even created a special course on how to become a proper wife.
A few years from now, your sole responsibility will be taking care of your husband and children. You may all be here for an easy A, but the grade that matters the most is the one he gives you, not me.
No matter how outstanding they are still treated as tools for their future husbands to choose from, while their degrees are nothing more than bargaining chips that increase their value in marriage. Under the school's traditional educational philosophy, the first thing most students do after graduation is get married. and the best student in Catherine's class, Joan, has exactly the same idea. With her own ability, she could have gone on to study at any top university, but in order to balance marriage and family, she can only choose to give up her education.
You can do both. Just for fun, if you could go to any law school in the country, which would it be?
Yale.
In truth, Joan has never seriously thought about this question. She has only chosen Yale almost by instinct. Before long, Katherine places Yale University's application form in front of Joan. At the very least, when standing at the crossroads of life, she can seriously think about which direction she wants to take. While Joan is still hesitating, her best friend Betty steps decisively into marriage. As the daughter of a school board member, her beliefs are perfectly aligned with the school's traditions, and she believes marriage is every woman's inevitable destination. After getting married, Betty never comes to class again, because she believes she has already completed the most important lesson of her life. 2 months of school pass in the blink of an eye, until one day, she finally finishes her honeymoon and walks into the classroom wearing her shining wedding ring. Although Katherine reminds her that missing too many classes will affect her graduation, Betty does not take it seriously at all. In her eyes, Katherine is over 30 and still unmarried, which clearly makes her a failure, and a failure has no right to tell her how to live her life. Besides, the school has always had an unwritten rule, which is that if married students miss a few classes, most teachers will not hold them accountable.
Don't disrespect me just because you're not.
Come to class, do the work, or I'll fail you.
If you fail me, there will be consequences.
As the daughter of a school board member, Betty believes she has a duty to protect tradition. Not long ago, a school nurse gave students family planning supplies, originally out of kind concern for their safety, but in Betty's eyes, it was morally improper and a direct challenge to tradition, so she harshly criticized the school nurse in the campus newspaper, and the incident quickly spread across the school. Following the principle of avoiding trouble whenever possible, the school dismisses the female doctor without hesitation. Now that someone else has stepped forward to challenge tradition, Betty absolutely cannot tolerate it. So she uses the same old tactic again and publishes an article in the campus newspaper criticizing Katherine.
Bearing the children that will carry our traditions into the future. One must pause to consider why Miss Katherine Watson, instructor in the art history department, has decided to declare war on the holy sacrament of marriage.
The moment this article comes out, Katherine is instantly pushed into the center of the controversy. The school president soon calls her in for a talk, warning her not to keep challenging tradition, or she may end up the same way as the female doctor. But compared with being fired, there are some things Katherine simply has to say. In class that day, she does not teach art history, but instead brings in several advertising images. In those bright and polished pictures, the so-called image of a successful woman is put on full display.
I wonder if she recites Chaucer while she presses her husband's shirt's slide. Now you physics majors can calculate the mass and volume of every meatloaf you make. Slide. A girdle to set you free. What does that mean?
She cannot understand how teaching them to pursue excellence has somehow been twisted into challenging their natural duty and destroying their lives. She thought she had come here to educate future leaders, not the wives of future leaders. This place is clearly filled with the smartest young women in the country, yet their future destination is somehow the exact same life as homemakers. For the first time, Katherine, who has always stayed calm even when questioned and challenged, loses control of her emotions. Katherine's sigh is barely audible, but it explodes in their minds like a clap of thunder. Everyone falls into deep thought, including Betty, whose face is filled with complicated emotions.
It's my mistake.
Everything is developing exactly as Betty expected, but deep down, she is not happy at all, because recently, she has finally understood one thing. Marriage is not necessarily the key that leads to happiness. To outsiders, Betty lives a comfortable life and has a perfect marriage, but only she knows that their loving image is just a fake appearance meant to protect their dignity as husband and wife. Her husband has been spending his nights elsewhere for a long time, and even on the most important Christmas holiday, even with friends visiting at home, he still leaves Betty without hesitation and chooses to meet his lover in private. This marriage, which seems perfectly matched and ideal on the surface, brings Betty not happiness, but endless deception and lies. After her husband stays out all night once again, Betty can no longer take it and returns to her parents' home in the rain. But what greets her is not the comfort and understanding she imagined, but a cold rejection.
Turn around, go home, fix your face, and wait for your husband.
You're not gonna let me stay in my own house?
Oh, Spencer's house is your house now. Believe me, it's for your own good.
When she was young, her mother had already taught her that a woman's success does not depend on her own ability, but on whether she can hold on to a man's heart. Before getting married, Betty was also a firm believer in this idea. But at this very moment, the words Katherine once said are branded into Betty's heart, burning there without her even realizing it. She thinks about divorce, but her mother is the first to jump out and oppose it, saying that a little friction between husband and wife is perfectly normal. Her mother has already promised the in-laws that Betty will at least try to make the marriage work for another year. Before this, Betty has already compromised and given in more than once, and she no longer wants to struggle pointlessly in a hopeless marriage. She signals for her mother to look at the painting Mona Lisa's smile. However, her mother's eyes never stop on the painting.
She's smiling. Is she happy?
The important thing is not to tell anyone.
She looks happy. So what does it matter?
Don't wash your dirty laundry in public.
And she only repeats again and again that family shame must never be exposed to outsiders. But Betty has already made up her mind. She will not sacrifice the rest of her life for so-called respectability, while she is busily preparing for divorce. Her close friend Joan makes the completely opposite decision. Not long ago, Joan received an acceptance letter from Yale, and along with it came her boyfriend's unexpected proposal. After weighing everything, Joan ultimately chooses family. Katherine urges her to think it through again, saying that even if she does not go to Yale, she can still find a school near her husband's family and continue her studies. But Joan has also made up her mind.
Look, do you think I'll wake up one morning and regret not being a lawyer?
Yes, I'm afraid that you will.
Not as much as I regret not having a family, not being there to raise them. I know exactly what I'm doing, and it doesn't make me any less smart.
The old Joan may have followed the crowd into marriage, but Katherine's appearance has made her think carefully and then actively choose to return to family life. Just as Joan thinks Katherine will turn away in frustration because she is disappointed in her for not fighting harder, Katherine instead steps forward, hugs her, and gives her sincere blessing. In truth, Katherine has never disliked marriage, and love is not something without value either, but neither of them should be treated as a required course in life. Before long, the school reaches a decision on how to handle Katherine, because the number of students choosing her course for next year has already broken the all-time record. The school has no choice but to go easy on her. However, from now on, she must teach strictly according to the textbook, and she is not allowed to provide any extra guidance to the students outside class. But Katherine ultimately rejects the job offer, because compared with reading from a textbook in a classroom filled with restrictions, she longs even more for the vast world outside. On the day of her departure, the green trees on both sides of the road seem to open a path for her, while a large group of students sees her off from behind. Betty, who once stood completely against Katherine, is now leading the way. She has already filed for divorce and will soon go to New York to continue her studies. Taking this step is not an easy thing, but one day, she will catch up with Katherine's footsteps too.
I dedicate this, my last editorial, to an extraordinary woman who lived by example and compelled us all to see the world through new eyes.
Katherine has planted the seed of independent thinking in her students, and time will eventually make that seed grow. Mona Lisa's Smile is a film released in 2003, and honestly, it is only a few years away from the year I was born. As someone born around the turn of the millennium, I grew up hearing things like, "If you are not obedient, no man will want you in the future." The fairy tales I watched as a child and the novels I read as a teenager all said that as long as you overcome trials and suffering, you will earn the perfect love and a happy marriage. But just as the film says, being a wife is not a role a woman is born to play. Compared with going along with the crowd and entering marriage to meet other people's expectations, Finding yourself is the more important lesson in life. After all, you have worked so hard to live your life, not to become someone else's accessory. See you in the next episode.